some people don't realize that some games are actually based on events that happen to people. And surviving in the Wasteland is something that is not an easy thing to do. And I'm always been very curious as to how does one do that? Rita, actually, what is life like in the Wasteland? Is it as hard as it feels and looks?
Замечательно. Моя жизнь наполнена красками и любовью. И я живу каждый день и улыбаюсь, и радуюсь. Моя жизнь очень супер.
But that means that eventually you actually get there.
Yes, only the strongest get there.
And if you don't realize by now that we're talking about the amazingly anticipated Fallout game, you've been living under a stone for the last I don't know how many years, because Modiphius is just going to make, for those of us who don't get the chance to play video games very often, to bring the experience onto the table, which is amazing. Okay, first of all, how do you actually get your hands on the license? Because I bet that there are plenty of people out there thinking, how do you get it?
Well, I mean, I've been talking to Bethesda for years because I used to have a t-shirt company. Yeah. And I was talking to them years ago about wouldn't it be great to do some clothing together, and we just stayed in touch and kept talking. And then when I started Modiphius, I was like, you know what? I know these guys that have got this cool game. And I thought, maybe I should be pitching them to do a tabletop game now. So I got in touch. And like with all these things, like Star Trek took a couple of years to finally do the deal. And big projects take a long time to convince people that you're the right partner, to talk about what are you going to make and the contracts and everything. But, you know, we persevered and we kept emailing, please, can we do this? And so eventually I remember getting the email going, yeah, we're on, it's happening.
And it is indeed happening.
So, yeah, it's quite unbelievable because, I mean, Fallout has been, you know, one of my go-to video games since it first came out. I mean, it goes back to original tabletop games, Metamorphosis Alpha and Gamma World. Gamma World was D&D after the bomb.
Absolutely.
And it had that very kitsch sort of it was all the D&D artists that did that very sort of kooky, you know, it was like living plants and talking badgers and stuff. And Fallout has that kind of fun humor to it as well, and that sort of very iconic 50s, you know, atomic look to it. So, I mean, being able to bring that to the tabletop was the real dream come true, because it's always been a war game in my head. I've always imagined the miniatures, especially with like the early, you know, turn-based, you know, stuff, and, you know, isometric views, and obviously now, you know, it's being more of an RPG style experience, but it's, you know, you're running around shooting and having brilliant storylines. So, you know, being able to, you know, thinking, wow, everyone's going to want to buy the robots and the creatures and the death claws and the sentry bots and the soul survivors and dog meat, and it just kind of evolves suddenly very quickly as this is a no-brainer. And we've been through a few iterations of the game rules, and now we've got a very strong set that is, you know, aimed at 3 to 30 figures on a table. But we could just play a game with 3 aside, which is kind of what we're doing with the demos here, and that takes about half an hour. Okay. So if we're on a quick game, and you can just play the basic battle, I'll attack you, let's see who kills each other first. Or we can play the narrative game, and the narrative game is what is really Fallout is about, because it's about quests and stories. So, you know, for example, before you play a game, you can take a quest, basically drawing a quest card. That might be something like a swarm of rad roaches. So you've got to quickly make an attack roll. If you defeat them, you get some caps to use for your army. If you don't, there's a consequence. They go into the event deck. They're going to come back during the battle and affect both of you.
Okay.
So you might meet a mercenary, and if you've got some spare caps, you pay him, and then he's going to take a shot at whoever you decide during the game, you know. So there's some good little mini quests that you can do. But during the game, you can also have, there's a quest structure. So for example, we have chained quests. So you might be looking for who killed your brother. You got back to the settlement, your brother's dead, there was a raid. So your first task is to get close to the enemy commander and make a leadership, a charisma test. And if you win the charisma test, you flip the card over and read. The next set is the enemy leader, as you're taunting him, says, yes, I know, I know who killed your brother. And now this is the next quest. So you go to quest card 2A. And then if you get to the end, you get something very cool, a very cool artifact or a big bonus. So we have those kinds of quests in game. Or maybe it's as simple as there's a guy who got attacked and he lost his Vault-Tec box somewhere on the board. It's one of these 4 quest tokens that only you can use, the enemy can't. And if you can find it, you're going to get a bonus, 50 caps. Now, during the game, we have narrative missions as well, which are evolving. So there's an evolving storyline, depending on how each story ends. But there's also, events happening during the game. So there might be rad storms that are going to affect long-range fire next turn. There's all kinds of stuff. You can search Vault-Tec boxes. You can search Nuka-Cola machines. You can search the cars. The cars can explode, just like in the game. Maybe won't. And we're doing all this cool scatter terrain, so like all the vending machines and the boxes and the radioactive barrels are very cool. They have a ranged attack with radiation power. So you can have a base surrounded by radioactive barrels and be super mutants, because that doesn't affect you. But if the humans come and attack you, then
they get done over. It sounds like an incredibly expandable game. I presume you have plans for it for the future.
Yeah, so I mean, the starter set is £60. It's pre-assembled PVC in colours, so it's ready to go out of the box. So it comes with, it's like 6 survivors, 5 super mutants, and a death claw. Super mutants in grey. Sorry, super mutants in green, Brotherhood of Steel, and the survivors in grey. And so that's ready to go, and so it's very accessible for everyone. Then each of the miniature sets are in very, very high quality resin. You can also pre-order a starter set in resin from us if you prefer resin. But each starter set comes with more of the narrative. So it comes with AI cards because you can play the game solo. You can play against the missions in solo, and we have special coded missions that are to be run solo as well that are even more exciting. So you're getting more missions with every box. You're getting more narrative cards, more quest cards, more Wasteland event cards. So the game, every time you buy some figures, the game is expanding as well. But we are going to make the core battle rules and the unit cards downloadable for free. So we're not forcing you to buy boxes just to get the unit card for the Sentry Bot. You can have it. You can make up your own.
That's actually very, very cool. That's very, very cool.
But if you want the story, then you've got to buy the boxes. And we're also releasing new missions every month for free. And there'll be downloadable mission packs as well. And then big expansion boxes linked to the DLC from Fallout 4 and then Fallout 3. So there's Far Harbor coming, the Automatron, be able to build your own robots. There's going to be the Mechanist, all the different sort of villains and creatures. The Far Harbor is going to come with a lot more creatures that turns the creatures into a whole faction, playable tournament faction. The Automatron turns the robots into a robot faction. So at the moment we've got Super Mutants, Brotherhood of Steel, and Survivors as the first 3 factions. And then in the spring you're going to be able to get the Institute, the Raiders, and my brain's going, the Institute, Raiders, and the Enclave. Yes, yeah. So there's 6 major factions, but then we also have creature sets and robot sets that are kind of more as allies or AI forces, but then they turn into whole factions with our expansions next year.
When is the game going to be available to the public? 'Cause I know there's an awful lot of people waiting for it.
So there's a big pre-order on at the moment, so you could basically order the first 3 months releases online with us. End of November, you'll be able to order those within your local stores, pre-order within your local stores. If you want to wait and see, you'll be able to read the rules in December. And obviously we're showing off more and more every week. If you just want to wait and see it in your local store, that's going to be end of March for the starter set. And our beautiful Red Rocket set, which is the Red Rocket gas station, the truck stop, and a gaming mat, 3x3 gaming mats. So that's going to be end of March, and then they'll be coming out from then. And we've got like several years worth of releases planned out. So we're going on a big adventure in the Wasteland, so we want to take everyone with us and kind of unveil all sorts of cool stories and let you take part.
God, I'm so looking forward to that. But Chris, I know that every year you make a massive announcement on Saturday. This is Friday, like in the previous video, just in case you haven't seen it. But you told us in the previous video what the new announcement is. But for those who haven't seen that, what are you going to tell people tomorrow? What is the new cool thing that you're going to do?
It's something we've been working on for a long time, and I've loved it since I was a kid. And it's